Alaska. You hear it before you see it. A deafening crack echoes across the frozen silence, followed by a roar so deep it feels less like a sound and more like the heartbeat of the earth itself. An iceberg the size of a city tears away from an ancient glacier, crashing into icy waters that have remained untouched for thousands of years. The sea erupts into towering waves as bald eagles scatter into the pale northern sky, and somewhere beyond the drifting mist, a lone grizzly pauses, watching the spectacle as if it has witnessed this moment 1,000 times before. This isn't Antarctica. This isn't Greenland. This is Alaska, the last great wilderness of North America. A land where mountains scrape the edge of the atmosphere, forests stretch farther than the eye can imagine, and entire regions remain so isolated that many have never known roads, electricity, or even permanent human settlement. Here, nature still writes the rules, and humanity is merely a visitor. But Alaska isn't simply beautiful, it's unforgiving. Every year, travelers arrive believing they're prepared for its endless landscapes, only to discover that this place demands something more than preparation. It demands respect, because beyond the postcard scenery lies another Alaska, one few outsiders ever experience. A place where villages disappear beneath months of darkness, where temperatures plunge so low that exposed skin freezes in minutes, where storms can erase entire coastlines overnight, where survival isn't an adventure. It's simply another Tuesday, and yet, despite every hardship, people continue to call this extraordinary land home. Why? What draws someone to a place that seems determined to test every limit of human endurance? Perhaps the answer isn't found in Alaska's dangers. Perhaps it's hidden within its silence. Because in a world growing louder every day, Alaska remains one of the last places where nature still speaks louder than humanity. Imagine standing somewhere so remote that there isn't another person within 100 miles. No highways, no cell signal, no city lights. Only mountains older than civilization itself, rivers that have never been dammed, and skies so impossibly clear that the Milky Way appears close enough to touch. How would that change the way you see the world? Would you find peace, or would the silence reveal something about yourself you've never dared to face? As this journey unfolds, you'll discover landscapes that seem impossible to exist on Earth, communities surviving against staggering odds, wildlife that dominates every corner of the land, and stories that prove Alaska is far more than America's 49th state. It is one of the last truly wild places left on our planet. Stretching across more than 663,000 square miles, Alaska is larger than Texas, California, and Montana combined. Yet despite its enormous size, fewer than 1 million people call it home. That means there are vast regions where you can travel for days without encountering another human being. In some areas, the only way in is by bush plane. Elsewhere, your only transportation is a boat navigating icy fjords, or a snowmobile crossing frozen rivers that transform into highways each winter. Many villages remain completely disconnected from the North American road system. Need groceries? They arrive by aircraft. Need medical supplies? Often by helicopter. Need to visit family? Weather decides whether that journey happens at all. For many communities, a single snowstorm can isolate them for days, sometimes weeks. Life here has never been about convenience. It's about resilience. Long before modern maps gave this place a name, Alaska belonged to indigenous peoples whose ancestors learned to survive one of Earth's harshest environments thousands of years ago. The Inupiat hunted whales along the frozen Arctic coast. The Yupik mastered the rivers and tundra. The Athabascans traveled endless forests. The Tlingit and Haida flourished among the rainforests and rugged coastline of the southeast. These weren't merely survivors, they were masters of their environment. They understood the rhythm of migration, the language of rivers, the behavior of sea ice, and the changing skies long before satellites or weather forecasts existed. Every mountain carried meaning. Every river told a story. Every season demanded wisdom, passed carefully from one generation to the next. Even today, many of those traditions remain alive, reminding us that Alaska isn't simply a destination, it's a living culture shaped by nature itself. Yet Alaska has always fascinated outsiders. Gold seekers crossed impossible mountain passes, chasing fortunes that rarely came. Explorers vanished into unmapped wilderness, hoping to chart the unknown. Adventurers arrived believing they could conquer the frontier. Many discovered instead that the frontier conquered them. Because Alaska doesn't care how experienced you are. Storms arrive without warning. Glaciers shift without permission. Bears ignore your itinerary. And rivers swollen by melting snow can become impassable within hours. Here, nature remains firmly in control. Ironically, that's exactly what makes this place so extraordinary. Every sunrise feels earned. Every successful journey becomes unforgettable. Every quiet moment reminds you just how small humanity truly is. But perhaps Alaska's greatest mystery isn't its wilderness. It's how so much of it remains untouched in the 21st century. In an age where satellites map nearly every corner of the Earth and smartphones connect billions of people instantly, Alaska still guards secrets hidden beyond towering mountain ranges, beneath ancient ice fields, and across remote islands battered by the North Pacific. Some valleys have seen fewer visitors than the surface of the moon. Some rivers continue carving landscapes exactly as they have for millions of years. Some forests have never echoed with the sound of machinery. This isn't just a place frozen in ice, it's a place frozen in time. And as our journey continues, we'll venture beyond the famous postcards into an Alaska that most visitors never witness. A world where survival depends on understanding nature rather than resisting it. Where extraordinary wildlife still reigns supreme. And where every mile reveals another astonishing reminder that true wilderness has not yet disappeared. So before we step deeper into one of the planet's last great frontiers, I have a question for you. If civilization vanished tomorrow, and you had to choose one place on Earth to begin again, could you survive somewhere like Alaska? Or would its overwhelming beauty become your greatest challenge? If you're ready to uncover the hidden heart of America's last frontier, let me know where in the world you're watching from in the comments. I'd love to see how far this journey reaches. And if stories of extraordinary places like this inspire you, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Legends of Power, and turn on notifications so you never miss another unforgettable adventure. Because what you've seen so far is only the beginning. And the Alaska waiting beyond the horizon is even more astonishing. At first, it looks like the edge of the world. The clouds drift low across jagged peaks, hiding entire mountain ranges, before slowly pulling back, like a theater curtain, unveiling one of Earth's greatest spectacles. Below them, rivers of ancient ice stretch across valleys carved over millions of years, glowing with an almost impossible shade of blue. From above, the landscape appears frozen in time, but nothing here is truly still. Alaska is alive. Every glacier moves, every mountain changes. Every valley is still being shaped by forces so immense that a single human lifetime is barely enough to notice them. This is one of the youngest landscapes on Earth. The mountains rising before you are not relics of the distant past. They are still climbing higher, still growing, still transforming. And nowhere is that more evident than in the crown jewel of North America, Denali, standing at over 20,000 feet above sea level. Denali isn't simply the tallest mountain on the continent. It is a giant that commands everything around it. For centuries, indigenous Athabascan people called it the High One, a name born not from poetry, but from simple observation. When a mountain towers so completely over the surrounding wilderness that it seems to touch another world, there is little else to call it. Unlike Everest, which rises from an already elevated plateau, Denali climbs almost directly from low valleys. The result is staggering. From its base to its summit, the vertical rise is greater than Mount Everest itself. Looking at it from miles away, it barely seems real. It dominates the horizon with such authority that every surrounding peak appears almost insignificant. Yet for much of the year, the mountain hides itself. Dense clouds wrap around its summit, concealing its highest point from everyone below. Visitors can spend an entire week inside Denali National Park without ever catching a glimpse of the mountain they traveled thousands of miles to see. Only when the skies finally clear does the true scale reveal itself. And in that moment, silence often follows, because some places are simply too magnificent for words. But Denali is only one chapter in Alaska's story. Stretching across the state are more than a dozen major mountain ranges, each with its own personality. The Alaska Range, the Brooks Range, the Wrangell Mountains, the Chugach, the St. Elias Mountains. Together, They create one of the most dramatic landscapes anywhere on Earth. Many remain almost completely unexplored. There are valleys where no roads have ever reached, peaks that have never been climbed, entire regions where aircraft remain the only practical way to enter. Even today, satellite imagery continues revealing hidden glaciers, unnamed ridges, and remote ice fields few people will ever witness with their own eyes. It's difficult to imagine that such untouched places still exist, but Alaska continues to remind us that our planet is far larger than we often believe. As these mountains rise toward the heavens, another extraordinary force shapes the land below: ice. Not ordinary winter snow, but glaciers older than entire civilizations. Some began forming long before the pyramids of Egypt. Others were already ancient when the Roman Empire was still centuries away. Today, Alaska contains more than 100,000 glaciers. Together, they store unimaginable amounts of fresh water, silently flowing downhill at speeds almost impossible to notice. To the human eye, they appear motionless. Yet every single day they move, grinding rock into fine powder, carving valleys, creating lakes, reshaping coastlines. A glacier is not frozen. It is a slow-moving river made entirely of ice. Occasionally, that slow movement becomes spectacular. Without warning, enormous sections fracture apart. The thunderous collapse echoes through entire valleys as massive walls of ice plunge into icy waters below. The event lasts only seconds, but the glacier has been preparing for that moment for decades, sometimes centuries. Standing nearby, you realize something remarkable. Nature doesn't operate according to human schedules. It has its own timeline, one measured not in days or years, but in geological ages. Perhaps that's why Alaska changes people. Life elsewhere encourages speed. Move faster, work harder, rush toward tomorrow. Here, the mountains whisper a different lesson. Slow down, pay attention, watch carefully, because beauty cannot be hurried. Imagine spending an afternoon beside a glacier, hearing nothing except distant cracking ice, the cry of an eagle overhead, and water gently lapping against ancient stone. No traffic, no notifications, no endless noise competing for your attention. When was the last time you experienced true silence? Not the silence of an empty room, the silence of untouched wilderness. Do you think most people today would find that peaceful or uncomfortable? I'd genuinely love to know your answer, because Alaska has a remarkable way of revealing how differently each of us experiences solitude. Yet even these magnificent mountains cannot prepare you for what lives among them, because Alaska's greatest architects aren't only glaciers. They're the animals that have learned to survive where few others can. Along rocky cliffs, Dall sheep balance effortlessly on ledges no wider than a person's foot. Golden eagles soar above valleys, searching for movement hundreds of feet below. Mountain goats scale nearly vertical cliffs that seem impossible to climb. And hidden beyond the next ridge, one of North America's greatest predators quietly patrols its territory. Here, humans are not at the top of the food chain. We're simply passing through. Every trail tells a story. A fresh bear print pressed into wet earth. Moose tracks disappearing into willow forests. Wolf paw prints crossing frozen rivers before vanishing beneath fresh snowfall. Each one is a reminder that these mountains belong first to wildlife. Visitors merely borrow them for a little while. That realization changes the way you walk, the way you listen, the way you respect every corner of this incredible landscape. Because Alaska rewards curiosity, but it punishes carelessness. And deeper inside these vast mountain ranges lies an even harsher world, one where winter lasts most of the year, the sun disappears for weeks at a time, and survival becomes one of humanity's greatest tests. It's a place so isolated that even Alaska itself feels distant, a place where life continues against impossible odds. And once you see it, you'll never think about the meaning of resilience the same way again. Cross the invisible line, known as the Arctic Circle, and Alaska begins to transform. The towering forests gradually disappear behind you. Rivers widen into braided ribbons across endless tundra, and the mountains soften into rolling hills that seem to stretch forever beneath an enormous sky. At first glance, the landscape appears almost empty, but nothing could be further from the truth. This is one of the harshest inhabited environments on Earth, a place where survival has always depended on understanding nature, never trying to conquer it. Here, winter is not a season, it is a way of life. For nearly 8 months of the year, snow and ice dominate the land. Temperatures plunge to 40, 50, sometimes even 60 degrees below zero. At those extremes, the air itself seems to fight against every breath. Metal burns exposed skin. Engines refuse to start. Water freezes almost instantly. Even a simple mistake, forgetting gloves or underestimating the weather, can become life-threatening within minutes. Yet despite these unimaginable conditions, people have lived here for thousands of years. Not because they had no choice, because they knew how. Long before modern insulated clothing, heated homes, or satellite weather forecasts, indigenous communities mastered life in the Arctic through generations of knowledge, carefully passed from one family to the next. They learned how to read the wind by watching drifting snow. They understood where sea ice was safe to cross and where hidden currents made every step dangerous. They could predict storms by studying the movement of clouds, birds, and even the behavior of seals. This wasn't luck, it was wisdom, earned over countless generations. Today, many of those traditions remain alive. Villages scattered across Alaska's northern coast continue to rely on subsistence hunting and fishing, not as cultural demonstrations for visitors, but as an essential part of everyday life. A successful whale hunt can provide food for an entire community. Caribou migrations remain events that shape entire seasons. Salmon runs are celebrated not simply because they are beautiful, but because they sustain families through the long winter ahead. Out here, nature is not separate from daily life. Nature is daily life. Imagine living somewhere where your local grocery store might be hundreds of miles away, where fresh produce arrives only when the weather allows aircraft to land, where fuel costs several times more than elsewhere in America, where every shipment depends on the sea remaining open or the skies remaining clear. These aren't rare emergencies. This is normal life for many Alaskan communities. And yet, ask the people who live here why they stay, and you'll often hear the same answer: because nowhere else feels like home. Perhaps that's because the Arctic offers something increasingly rare in the modern world: perspective. Stand outside on a clear winter night, and the darkness becomes almost complete. There are no highways glowing in the distance, no skyscrapers reflecting artificial light, only the stars stretching endlessly overhead. Then, almost without warning, the sky begins to move. Soft ribbons of green emerge along the horizon. They twist, they shimmer, they dance silently across the heavens. Within moments, the entire sky is alive. The Northern Lights. For centuries, these mysterious lights inspired countless legends. Some believed they were spirits dancing across the heavens. Others imagined them as ancestors watching over the living. Even today, despite everything science has taught us about charged solar particles colliding with Earth's atmosphere, witnessing the aurora in person feels almost supernatural. No photograph truly captures it. No video completely explains it. It is one of those rare experiences that simply has to be lived. Have you ever seen the Northern Lights with your own eyes? Or is it still on your bucket list? Tell me in the comments, because for many travelers, this single phenomenon becomes the reason they dream of visiting Alaska. But the Arctic is filled with wonders far stranger than dancing skies. Every winter, rivers become highways. Entire landscapes freeze solid enough for heavy vehicles to cross. Ice roads appear where boats traveled only months before. Then, as spring returns, those same frozen roads vanish completely, leaving no trace behind. Imagine explaining that to someone who has never experienced winter, that yesterday's river is today's road, and next month's river once again. Life here constantly reminds you that nothing is permanent. Everything changes with the seasons. Wildlife has adapted in extraordinary ways. Arctic foxes grow thick white coats that blend perfectly into snow-covered landscapes. Snowy owls silently patrol the tundra, their feathers providing camouflage so complete they almost disappear against the frozen earth. Musk oxen, survivors from the Ice Age, continue roaming these wind-swept plains just as their ancestors did, alongside mammoths thousands of years ago. And then there are the caribou. Every year, hundreds of thousands begin one of the greatest migrations on Earth. They travel hundreds of miles across mountains, rivers, and frozen tundra, in search of food and safe calving grounds. Predators follow. Wolves shadow the herd. Bears wait for opportunity. Golden eagles circle overhead. It is one of nature's greatest spectacles, an ancient rhythm continuing exactly as it has for millennia. Yet even here, change is beginning to arrive. The Arctic is warming faster than almost anywhere else on Earth. Sea ice forms later. Permafrost begins to thaw. Coastlines slowly erode beneath increasingly powerful storms. Entire villages now face difficult decisions about whether they can remain where generations of their families have lived. For the people of Alaska, climate isn't an abstract conversation. It is something they witness with their own eyes, year after year, season after season. The frozen world they have always known is quietly changing, and with every change comes new uncertainty. Still, perhaps the most remarkable thing about Alaska's Arctic is not its cold, it is its resilience. Despite unimaginable winters, months of darkness, and relentless isolation, life continues. Children laugh as they race across snowy streets. Families gather for community celebrations. Hunters return from the sea. Neighbors help one another through storms. Because in a place where nature is stronger than any individual, survival has always depended on something greater than strength alone. It depends on community. And as our journey continues, we'll leave behind the frozen tundra and travel south toward a coastline unlike anywhere else on Earth. A place where towering glaciers meet the ocean, where whales breach beneath snow-covered peaks, and where entire islands seem untouched by time. It is here that Alaska reveals another side of its extraordinary character, one shaped not by ice alone, but by the endless power of the sea. Long before you hear the whales, you hear the ice. A deep rumble rolls across the water, followed by a thunderous crack that echoes between towering cliffs. Seconds later, an entire wall of blue ice breaks free from the face of a glacier and crashes into the sea below. Waves surge across the fjord, lifting everything in their path as thousands of years of frozen history suddenly become part of the ocean. This is one of Alaska's most breathtaking performances, and it happens every single day. Along Alaska's southern coastline lies a world unlike anywhere else in North America. Here, mountains don't simply end at the shore. They plunge directly into the sea. Massive glaciers descend from snow-covered peaks, carving narrow fjords that weave deep into the wilderness, like veins through stone. From above, the coastline resembles a masterpiece, sculpted over millions of years. More than 6,600 miles of rugged shoreline, longer than the entire coastline of the continental United States, create an endless maze of islands, hidden coves, icy bays, and untouched inlets. Many of these places remain completely inaccessible by road. The ocean is not just transportation here, it is the highway, the grocery route, the emergency service, the lifeline connecting communities separated by mountains that no road could ever hope to cross. Life along Alaska's coast has always revolved around the sea. For thousands of years, indigenous peoples learned to read tides the way others read maps. They understood when salmon would return to the rivers, where seals rested on drifting ice, and how changing currents could mean the difference between a safe journey and disaster. Their survival depended not on controlling the ocean, but respecting it. Even today, that lesson remains just as important, because these waters are among the most unpredictable on Earth. One moment, the surface is perfectly calm, reflecting mountains so clearly they appear upside down. The next, dense fog sweeps through the fjords, reducing visibility to only a few yards. Powerful winds rush down glacier-carved valleys, transforming peaceful bays into churning seas within minutes. Out here, confidence can quickly become overconfidence, and Alaska has little patience for either. Yet beneath those icy waters lives one of the richest marine ecosystems on the planet. Every summer, something extraordinary begins. Millions upon millions of salmon leave the open Pacific Ocean and begin swimming upstream toward the very rivers where their lives first began. Some travel hundreds of miles inland, battling rapids, leaping waterfalls, fighting currents that seem impossible to overcome. Driven by an instinct scientists still struggle to fully explain, they return with astonishing precision to the exact streams of their birth. It's one of nature's greatest migrations. But they are not alone. The salmon are followed by an entire world of hungry predators. Brown bears gather beside rushing rivers, waiting with remarkable patience. Bald eagles fill nearby trees, their sharp eyes scanning the water below. Wolves emerge from surrounding forests. Even tiny foxes and scavenging birds join the feast. For a few incredible weeks, the rivers become the center of an enormous natural drama. Every creature understands what this moment means, because the salmon feed more than animals. They feed entire forests. As bears carry fish deep into the woods, leftover nutrients enrich the soil. Trees absorb those nutrients, growing stronger year after year. In a remarkable cycle, the ocean itself helps sustain forests miles inland. Everything is connected. Every river, every tree, every predator, every fish. It's a reminder that wilderness is not simply a collection of beautiful places. It is a living system where every piece depends upon another. Then, just when you think Alaska couldn't become more extraordinary, the giants arrive. Without warning, a column of mist erupts from the ocean surface. Another follows, then another. Soon, the water around you comes alive. Humpback whales, some weighing nearly 40 tons, some stretching longer than a school bus. Each summer, they travel thousands of miles, from tropical breeding grounds to Alaska's nutrient-rich waters. Here they feed almost continuously, building enough energy to survive the long migration back south. Watching a humpback whale breach is something few people ever forget. The enormous body launches completely out of the water before crashing back into the sea with astonishing force. The sound alone can be heard for miles. But perhaps even more remarkable is what happens beneath the surface. Working together, groups of humpbacks perform one of nature's most sophisticated hunting techniques. They create giant spirals of bubbles beneath schools of fish. The frightened fish instinctively crowd closer together, trapped inside a rising cylinder of bubbles. Then, in perfect synchronization, multiple whales surge upward simultaneously, with mouths wide open, swallowing thousands of fish in a single breathtaking movement. It's called bubble net feeding, and it happens almost nowhere else on Earth, with the consistency found in Alaska. Moments like these remind us that intelligence isn't unique to humans. Nature has spent millions of years perfecting its own extraordinary strategies. As you continue along the coastline, towering forests begin rising directly from the water's edge. These are not ordinary forests. They belong to the Tongass National Forest, the largest temperate rainforest on Earth. Unlike tropical jungles filled with heat and humidity, Tongass is cool, misty, and endlessly green. Ancient Sitka spruce and western hemlock trees soar hundreds of feet into the sky. Some have stood here for more than 800 years. Imagine everything these trees have witnessed: the rise and fall of civilizations, the arrival of explorers, the gold rush, world wars, the invention of airplanes, the birth of the internet. Through it all, they remained, standing silently beside the sea, growing one ring at a time. Walking beneath their towering canopies feels almost cathedral-like. Light filters gently through layers of moss-covered branches. Streams tumble over smooth stones. The scent of cedar and saltwater fills the air. There are moments when it becomes difficult to believe such places still exist in the modern world. Have you ever visited a place so beautiful that photos simply couldn't capture what it felt like to stand there? A place that made you stop talking, not because there was nothing to say, but because words suddenly seemed too small. If you have, tell us about it in the comments. Someone else watching may discover their next unforgettable destination because of your story. Because travel is more than seeing new places. It's about sharing experiences that remind us how incredible our world truly is. Yet Alaska still has one final surprise waiting beyond these coastal forests. Far to the southwest, where the Pacific Ocean collides with the Bering Sea, lies a chain of remote volcanic islands battered by relentless storms. Few people ever visit them. Even fewer remain there for long. But those who do quickly discover one of the wildest landscapes on Earth, a place where fire, ice, and ocean exist side by side. And it may be the most isolated corner of Alaska yet. The map makes them look insignificant. A thin chain of scattered dots stretching westward from mainland Alaska, disappearing into the vast emptiness of the North Pacific, like stepping stones toward Asia. Most people have never heard their names. Fewer could point to them on a globe. Yet these remote islands guard one of the most extraordinary frontiers on Earth. The Aleutian Islands, a place where continents almost touch, where volcanoes rise directly from the sea, where hurricane-force winds are simply part of everyday life, and where nature constantly reminds humanity who truly rules these waters. Standing here feels unlike anywhere else in Alaska. The mountains are different. The air carries the sharp scent of salt and sulfur. The horizon never seems still. Clouds race overhead at astonishing speed, driven by powerful weather systems born where the icy Bering Sea collides with the warmer waters of the Pacific Ocean. Meteorologists often call this one of the stormiest places on Earth. Locals simply call it home. There are weeks when dense fog blankets the islands from sunrise until nightfall, days when violent winds roar across open hillsides with enough force to make walking almost impossible. Winter storms arrive with little warning, sending towering waves crashing against volcanic cliffs that have resisted the ocean for millions of years. It is a landscape shaped by conflict, not human conflict, the endless struggle between earth, sea, wind, and fire. Because beneath these islands, the planet itself remains restless. The Aleutians sit along the Pacific Ring of Fire, one of Earth's most active volcanic regions. More than 40 volcanoes rise across the island chain. Some sleep quietly beneath snow-covered peaks. Others continue releasing steam and ash into the sky, constant reminders that the ground beneath your feet is still alive. Occasionally, one awakens. Without warning, ash columns explode miles into the atmosphere. Lava pours down dark mountainsides. Entire islands disappear beneath clouds of volcanic dust. Flights across the North Pacific must suddenly reroute hundreds of miles away. Nature announces that it is once again reshaping the landscape, and humanity can do little more than watch. It's astonishing to think that while millions of people spend their lives inside crowded cities surrounded by concrete and steel, there are places like this where the Earth is still creating itself in real time. Imagine witnessing the birth of new land. How small would your everyday worries suddenly seem? For thousands of years, the Unangan people, often known as the Aleut people, have called these islands home. Long before modern ships crossed these dangerous seas, they mastered some of the world's most unpredictable waters, using remarkable skin-covered boats designed to navigate crashing waves and relentless currents. Every journey demanded extraordinary skill. Every successful hunt reflected generations of accumulated knowledge. The ocean provided everything: fish, seabirds, marine mammals. Even today, their deep connection to these islands remains woven into every part of their culture. It is a reminder that survival has never depended solely on strength. It depends on understanding, on observing, on respecting the rhythms of nature rather than fighting against them. The wildlife here has adapted just as remarkably. Towering cliffs become crowded cities for millions of seabirds. Puffins with brightly colored beaks dive effortlessly into icy waters. Muras cling impossibly to narrow rock ledges. Cormorants spread their wings beneath the wind. During nesting season, the sky becomes almost impossible to follow as countless birds circle overhead in constant motion. The noise is overwhelming. Thousands of calls blend together into a single living soundtrack that echoes across the cliffs from dawn until dusk. Then, just offshore, another world begins. Sea otters float peacefully on their backs, wrapped in forests of giant kelp that keep them from drifting away while they sleep. Massive Steller sea lions gather on rocky beaches, their powerful voices carrying across the water. Pods of orcas patrol deeper channels with quiet precision, hunting beneath waves that reveal almost nothing of the drama unfolding below. Everything here exists because the surrounding ocean is astonishingly productive. Cold, nutrient-rich waters support an incredible web of life. Tiny plankton feed small fish feed larger fish. Those fish feed seals, whales, seabirds, and countless other species. One endless cycle, perfectly balanced, at least for now, because even these remote islands have begun to feel the effects of a changing world. Ocean temperatures shift, fish populations move, storm patterns grow increasingly unpredictable. Scientists continue studying these changes, knowing that what happens here may eventually influence ecosystems across the entire Pacific Ocean. The Aleutians remind us that no place is truly isolated. Everything is connected. Every current, every migration, every season, every decision humanity makes, far beyond these distant shores. Perhaps nowhere is that connection more humbling than on the tiny island of Unalaska. Despite its remote location, it serves as one of America's most important fishing ports. Enormous vessels arrive carrying catches that will eventually appear on dinner tables thousands of miles away. People eating seafood in cities across North America, Europe, and Asia may never realize their meal began its journey in these wild Alaskan waters. The world feels enormous until moments like these reveal how closely our lives are intertwined. Have you ever stopped to think about how many invisible connections link your daily life to places you've never seen? The food you eat, the clothes you wear, the fuel you use. How much of it began its journey somewhere completely unexpected? Share your thoughts below. Sometimes understanding our world begins with asking questions we've never considered before. As evening settles over the islands, the wind briefly calms. Golden sunlight slips beneath the clouds, illuminating volcanic peaks, endless grasslands, and the restless sea beyond. For just a few precious minutes, everything becomes perfectly still. It feels almost impossible after a day shaped by relentless weather. Then, as quickly as it arrived, the calm disappears. The wind returns, the waves build. The islands once again reveal their untamed character. Because this is Alaska, nothing remains predictable for long. Yet even after exploring frozen tundra, towering mountains, ancient rainforests, and volcanic islands, we still haven't reached the greatest challenge of all. The true test of Alaska isn't simply surviving its landscapes, it's surviving its seasons. Because soon, the sun itself will begin to disappear. Entire communities will enter months of darkness. Temperatures will plunge beyond imagination. And we'll discover what life becomes when daylight itself turns into a distant memory. The sun sinks below the horizon. Then it doesn't come back. Not tomorrow, not next week. In some parts of northern Alaska, more than 2 months can pass without a single sunrise. The landscape fades into a world illuminated only by moonlight, starlight, and the shimmering ribbons of the aurora dancing overhead. Time begins to feel different here. Days blur together. Morning and evening lose their meaning. Welcome to Alaska's endless night. For many people, it's almost impossible to imagine. How would you feel if daylight simply disappeared? Would you embrace the quiet beauty of the darkness? Or would you count every passing day until the sun finally returned? For the people who call Alaska's Arctic home, this isn't an extraordinary event. It's simply another winter. As autumn slowly fades, the final sunset becomes an emotional moment. Families gather outside to watch the sun dip below the horizon for the last time. Children wave goodbye, knowing they won't see it again for weeks. Then, gradually, darkness takes over. At first, the twilight lingers for several hours each day, casting soft shades of blue across the frozen landscape. But eventually, even that fades. The world becomes a place of shadows. Yet surprisingly, life doesn't stop. Schools remain open. Stores continue operating. Neighbors still visit one another. Snowmobiles replace cars on many routes. Children laugh while building snow forts beneath the glow of the northern lights. Because humans have an incredible ability to adapt, what once seemed impossible slowly becomes ordinary. In fact, many Alaskans will tell you that winter isn't their least favorite season. It's their favorite. The snow transforms the landscape into something almost magical. Mountains sparkle beneath moonlight. Frozen rivers become glittering highways. Every sound carries farther through the crisp Arctic air. Even silence seems louder. Of course, the darkness brings challenges. Without sunlight, maintaining a sense of routine requires discipline. Many homes use specially designed lights that imitate daylight. Communities organize festivals and winter celebrations to keep spirits high. Neighbors check on one another more often. Because in places where nature is overwhelming, community becomes one of the strongest sources of resilience. Perhaps that's one of Alaska's greatest lessons. Survival has never been an individual achievement. It's always been shared. Imagine losing electricity during a snowstorm in a crowded city. Now imagine that same storm occurring hundreds of miles from the nearest highway. No repair crews arriving within hours. No nearby hotels. No quick trip to the store. Out here, preparation isn't optional. It's part of everyday life. Most homes store emergency supplies. Generators stand ready. Firewood is carefully stacked months before winter arrives. Fuel tanks are filled long before temperatures begin falling. Every decision made during summer helps determine whether winter will be comfortable or dangerous. This relationship with the seasons shapes an entirely different mindset. Instead of asking, "What do I need today?" people ask, "What will I need 6 months from now?" That simple shift changes everything. But perhaps the most fascinating phenomenon of Alaska's winter isn't the darkness. It's what happens when the darkness finally ends. After weeks of waiting, a glow appears on the southern horizon. At first, it lasts only a few minutes. The sun barely peaks above distant hills before disappearing once again. The next day, it stays slightly longer, then longer still. Entire communities celebrate the return of daylight. Children rush outdoors. Neighbors gather together. The first sunrise feels almost like welcoming back an old friend. It's remarkable how easily we take sunlight for granted, until it's gone. Would you appreciate every sunrise more if you had to wait months to see one? It's an interesting question. Let me know what you think in the comments. Sometimes the things we value most are the things we experience every day without noticing. As daylight gradually returns, another extraordinary event unfolds across Alaska. The snow begins to melt. Rivers awaken beneath cracking sheets of ice. Waterfalls roar back to life. Tiny green shoots emerge through frozen ground. Animals that vanished during winter begin reappearing one by one. The transformation is astonishing. Within just a few weeks, a landscape buried beneath snow suddenly explodes with life. Moose emerge from forests with newborn calves. Migrating birds return by the millions. Brown bears awaken from months of hibernation, hungry enough to consume tens of thousands of calories each day. Even the forests seem to breathe again. Then something even more remarkable happens. The days keep getting longer and longer, until, eventually, the opposite extreme arrives, the midnight sun. In much of Alaska, summer brings nearly endless daylight. Above the Arctic Circle, the sun no longer sets at all. At midnight, it hovers just above the horizon, bathing mountains and rivers in warm golden light that feels almost dreamlike. Children play outside late into the evening because visually, it still looks like afternoon. Hikers begin adventures at 10 o'clock at night. Fishermen remain on the water well past midnight. Photographers chase golden light that seems to last forever. Your internal clock becomes wonderfully confused. Sleep no longer depends on darkness. It depends entirely on discipline. Imagine standing beside a quiet lake at 1 o'clock in the morning, while sunlight still reflects across perfectly calm water. It's one of those experiences that makes you question everything you thought you knew about time. Because Alaska constantly reminds us that nature doesn't follow human expectations. It follows its own rhythm, its own calendar, its own rules. And perhaps that's why people who visit Alaska often leave with more than photographs. They leave with perspective. Here, the passing of seasons isn't something hidden behind office windows or city skylines. You feel every change, every snowfall, every thaw, every sunrise, every disappearing sunset. Nature isn't something you occasionally visit. It's something that surrounds you every moment. As our journey continues, we'll venture into Alaska's greatest kingdom, the realm of its legendary wildlife. Here, some of North America's most iconic animals live largely as they always have. Massive brown bears, powerful wolves, towering moose, majestic bald eagles, and beneath the icy waves, some of the largest creatures ever to inhabit our planet. This is where Alaska truly reminds us that humans are guests, and the wild still reigns supreme. There is a moment every traveler remembers. The forest is silent, too silent. The only sound is the steady rush of a nearby river, carrying glacial water toward the sea. A cool breeze moves through the towering spruce trees, carrying with it the earthy scent of moss and damp soil. Then, somewhere just beyond the tree line, a heavy branch snaps. Once, then another. Your heartbeat quickens. Every instinct tells you that something enormous is moving through the wilderness. Slowly, confidently, unafraid. Moments later, a massive brown bear emerges from the shadows. Its shoulders ripple beneath thick fur. Powerful muscles shift with every step as it walks toward the river, completely aware of your presence, yet completely unconcerned. You are not in a zoo. There are no fences, no barriers, no glass separating you from one of the most powerful land predators on Earth. This is Alaska, where the wild is still truly wild. More than 30,000 brown bears roam this vast state, representing one of the largest healthy populations anywhere in the world. Some grow so large that standing upright, they can reach nearly 10 feet tall and weigh well over 1,000 pounds. Yet what surprises many visitors isn't their size, it's their calm. Contrary to popular belief, bears spend surprisingly little time looking for conflict. Their days revolve around something far simpler: food. During Alaska's short summer, every animal understands that time is running out. Winter is always coming, and survival depends on taking full advantage of these precious months of abundance. For brown bears, that means one thing above all else: salmon. Every year, rivers across Alaska transform into highways of silver as millions of salmon fight their way upstream. Waiting patiently along the riverbanks are bears that have perfected their hunting techniques over countless generations. Some stand motionless beneath rushing waterfalls, allowing fish to leap directly toward them. Others quietly stalk shallow streams before striking with astonishing speed. It is not uncommon for a single bear to consume dozens of fish in a single day, not because it is greedy, because every calorie matters. A bear entering winter without enough body fat may never survive until spring. Watching this annual spectacle is one of nature's greatest privileges. The bear is not hunting for sport. The salmon are not swimming upstream by choice. Every creature is simply following an ancient rhythm written into its existence long before humans ever arrived. Nature doesn't waste energy. It wastes nothing. Even after a bear finishes eating, ravens descend from nearby trees. Foxes emerge from the forest. Eagles gather overhead. Leftovers become meals for countless other animals. Nothing is truly lost. Everything continues. This incredible balance extends far beyond the rivers. Deep within Alaska's forests moves another legendary hunter, the gray wolf. For centuries, wolves have been misunderstood, feared, admired, and even hunted nearly to extinction across much of North America. But Alaska remained one of the few places where wolves continued living largely undisturbed. Here, packs still roam enormous territories spanning hundreds of square miles. Each member has a role. Some lead, some protect, some teach the young. Contrary to popular myths, wolves are not reckless killers. Every hunt requires careful coordination. Every decision carries consequences. Chasing prey across deep snow demands enormous amounts of energy. Failure means hunger. Success means survival. Watching a wolf pack move through fresh snow is like witnessing perfect teamwork in motion. No wasted effort, no unnecessary movement, only quiet communication, developed through trust and experience. It's remarkable how often nature reflects lessons humans continue striving to learn. Strength alone rarely guarantees survival. Cooperation does. Perhaps that's why wolves have inspired stories across countless cultures, not because they are fierce, but because they remind us of the power of family. Have you ever noticed how the strongest communities, whether in nature or among people, are often those that work together rather than compete against one another? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Sometimes the greatest life lessons come from simply observing the natural world. Then there is Alaska's gentle giant, the moose. At first glance, they appear almost peaceful, slow, calm, even awkward, but appearances can be dangerously misleading. Adult bull moose can stand over 6 feet tall at the shoulder and weigh more than 1,500 pounds. Their enormous antlers can stretch wider than a dining table. Despite their size, they move through dense forests with astonishing grace, disappearing into the trees almost as silently as shadows. Each spring, cows give birth to calves that can stand within hours. Yet those first few weeks remain incredibly dangerous. Bears and wolves constantly search for vulnerable young. Mothers become fiercely protective, charging anything they perceive as a threat, including humans. Ironically, many wildlife experts consider moose more unpredictable than bears. Because while bears often prefer avoiding confrontation, moose sometimes choose the opposite. Respecting wildlife in Alaska isn't about fear, it's about understanding. Every animal has boundaries. The wilderness functions best when those boundaries remain undisturbed. Look upward, and another icon appears. Perched high atop an ancient Sitka spruce sits the bald eagle. Its white head gleams beneath the northern sun as sharp yellow eyes scan rivers hundreds of feet below. Alaska is home to more bald eagles than the rest of the United States combined. Thousands gather along salmon-rich rivers every autumn. Watching them soar effortlessly above snow-covered mountains, it's easy to understand why they became such enduring symbols of freedom. Yet even the eagle is only one chapter in Alaska's astonishing diversity. Mountain goats cling effortlessly to cliffs that seem impossible to climb. Dall sheep navigate narrow ledges high above valleys where a single misstep would prove fatal. Lynx move silently through forests on oversized paws, perfectly adapted for deep snow. Wolverines, rarely seen but legendary for their determination, travel immense distances across rugged terrain in search of food. Every species tells the same story: adapt or disappear. But perhaps Alaska's greatest giants live far beyond the shoreline. Beneath cold ocean waters, blue whales, the largest animals ever known to have lived on Earth, pass through during seasonal migrations. Imagine that for a moment. Dinosaurs once ruled this planet, yet even the mightiest among them never approached the sheer size of a fully grown blue whale. Their hearts weigh as much as a small car. Their calls travel for hundreds of miles beneath the sea. And every summer, some of these magnificent creatures return to Alaska's nutrient-rich waters. Nearby, pods of orcas patrol the coastline with astonishing intelligence. Each family has its own hunting traditions, communication patterns, and even distinct vocal dialects passed from one generation to the next. Scientists continue discovering just how complex these societies truly are. The more we learn, the more extraordinary they become. Standing at the edge of Alaska's wilderness, one realization becomes impossible to ignore. Humans are not the center of this ecosystem. We never were. Here, we are visitors, observers, guests invited into a world that has flourished for millions of years without our guidance. That perspective is both humbling and strangely comforting, because it reminds us that despite everything humanity has built, there are still places where nature remains wonderfully, unapologetically wild. And yet, even this magnificent wilderness faces new challenges. The greatest threat isn't another predator, it isn't another storm, it isn't another harsh winter. It is change, invisible at first, gradual, but impossible to ignore. As our journey enters its final chapters, we'll discover how Alaska stands at the crossroads of the past and the future, a place where ancient wilderness confronts a rapidly changing world, and where the choices humanity makes today may shape this extraordinary frontier for generations yet to come. The first signs are almost invisible. A hunter notices that the river freezes a little later than it did when he was a child. A fisherman realizes the salmon have arrived days behind their usual schedule. An elder points toward a hillside where solid frozen ground once stood, now slowly collapsing beneath the weight of thawing earth. To a visitor, these changes might seem insignificant. To the people who have spent their entire lives here, they tell an entirely different story. Because Alaska has always been a land of change. Glaciers have carved its valleys, volcanoes have built its islands, earthquakes have lifted entire coastlines from the sea. Transformation is woven into the very identity of this place. But today's changes are unfolding faster than many communities have ever witnessed. And nowhere is that reality more evident than in Alaska's frozen north. For thousands of years, vast layers of permanently frozen ground, known as permafrost, have supported homes, roads, forests, and entire villages. It formed over countless generations. It seemed permanent. Its very name suggested it would never disappear. Yet in many parts of Alaska, that permanence is beginning to fade. As temperatures slowly rise, the frozen ground softens. Roads begin to crack. Buildings tilt at strange angles. Trees that once stood proudly upright now lean in every direction, creating what locals sometimes call drunken forests. Lakes appear where solid ground once existed. Elsewhere, rivers change course, carving entirely new paths across the landscape. Nature is quietly redrawing the map. But perhaps the most heartbreaking changes are happening along Alaska's western coastline. For generations, small indigenous communities have lived beside the sea, depending on its resources while respecting its rhythms. Today, stronger storms and diminishing sea ice allow powerful waves to strike coastlines with increasing force. Each year, more land disappears into the ocean. Some villages now face decisions that previous generations could never have imagined. Should they remain where their ancestors lived for centuries, or leave everything behind? Imagine standing in the place where your grandparents were born, where every trail carries memories, where every river tells part of your family's story. Then imagine being told that one day, the ocean may claim it forever. It's a decision that cannot be measured only in dollars or engineering reports. It's about identity, history, belonging. Because home is never just a location, it's part of who we are. Yet Alaska has never been defined by hardship alone. Again and again, its people have demonstrated remarkable resilience. Scientists, indigenous leaders, conservationists, engineers, fishermen, pilots, and local communities are working together to understand these changing landscapes. Some villages are strengthening coastlines. Others are developing new ways to monitor wildlife migrations. Researchers study glaciers, sea ice, forests, and ocean currents with technologies unimaginable only a generation ago. At the same time, many indigenous communities continue contributing traditional ecological knowledge, observations collected across hundreds of years that often provide insights modern science is only beginning to understand. Together, ancient wisdom and modern research are revealing a more complete picture of Alaska than either could achieve alone. It is a powerful reminder that solving tomorrow's challenges may require listening to both the past and the future. Of course, Alaska's story has never been simple. Beneath its mountains lie enormous reserves of oil, natural gas, rare minerals, and other valuable resources. For decades, these resources have supported jobs, communities, and economic growth throughout the state. The famous Trans-Alaska Pipeline stretches hundreds of miles across mountains, rivers, and tundra, standing as one of the most ambitious engineering achievements in North American history. Its construction forever changed Alaska, yet it also raised difficult questions that continue today. How do we balance development with conservation? How do we provide opportunities for people while protecting one of Earth's last great wildernesses? Can both exist together? There are no easy answers, only ongoing conversations, because Alaska belongs not only to those living there today, but also to future generations who deserve the chance to experience its extraordinary beauty. Perhaps that's why protected places like Denali National Park, Katmai National Park, Wrangell St. Elias, Glacier Bay, and the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge inspire such passionate discussions. These landscapes are more than tourist destinations. They are living laboratories, refuges for wildlife, treasures of global significance, places where future generations can still experience what much of our planet once looked like before cities, highways, and industries transformed the landscape. Have you ever visited a place that made you hope it would remain exactly as it is forever? Somewhere so extraordinary that you wanted your children, or even your grandchildren, to experience it just as you did? Tell us about that place in the comments, because preserving beauty often begins with appreciating it. And sometimes, your story inspires someone else to protect a place they've never even seen. Despite every challenge, Alaska continues to offer hope. Each spring, salmon still fight their way upstream, brown bears still emerge from winter dens, caribou still begin migrations older than recorded history, whales still return from distant oceans. The northern lights still dance across Arctic skies with breathtaking grace. Nature continues writing its timeless story, page after page, season after season. Perhaps that is Alaska's greatest lesson. Resilience is not about resisting change. It is about learning how to move through it without losing what matters most. The mountains endure because they adapt. The forests survive because they regenerate. The rivers continue because they never stop flowing. Even the glaciers, though constantly changing, continue shaping the land with patient determination. There is wisdom in that, maybe more than we realize. In a world moving faster every year, Alaska quietly reminds us that some things remain worth protecting, worth respecting, worth slowing down to truly understand. But before our journey comes to an end, there is one final destination waiting. One final reflection that ties together everything we've witnessed, from towering mountains and ancient glaciers to endless nights, thriving wildlife, and resilient communities. It is there, at the edge of the continent, where Alaska reveals its greatest secret, not about the land itself, but about us. The journey always ends the same way, not with a destination, but with a silence. Perhaps you're standing on a rocky shoreline as gentle waves carry fragments of ancient glacier ice out toward the Pacific. Maybe you're watching the midnight sun hover just above the horizon, refusing to surrender to the night. Or perhaps you're sitting alone beneath a sky alive with emerald ribbons of the northern lights, realizing you've stopped reaching for your camera because no photograph could ever capture what this moment truly feels like. Whatever brought you here, Alaska has already begun changing you, not because it demands your attention, but because it quietly earns it. For thousands of miles, we've crossed a land unlike any other in North America. We've stood beneath mountains that continue rising toward the heavens. We've watched glaciers that have shaped continents for millions of years. We've followed rivers where salmon complete one of nature's greatest journeys. We've ventured beyond the Arctic Circle, where winter transforms darkness into a way of life. We've sailed through icy fjords, where whales breach beneath snow-covered peaks. We've walked among forests older than entire civilizations. We've witnessed volcanoes, reminding us that the earth beneath our feet is still very much alive. We've watched bears, wolves, moose, eagles, and whales thrive in landscapes where humans remain visitors rather than rulers. And through it all, one truth has quietly followed us. Alaska has never been about conquering nature. It has always been about learning to live alongside it. In much of the modern world, we build walls to separate ourselves from the environment. We control temperatures with the touch of a button. We illuminate darkness with artificial light. We cross mountains by tunneling through them. We reshape rivers. We pave forests. We often forget that nature once dictated the rhythm of every human life. Alaska remembers. Here, storms still determine travel plans. The tides still decide when fishermen leave harbor. Snowfall still changes entire communities overnight. Wildlife migrations still shape the seasons. The sun itself continues writing the calendar. Life follows nature's schedule, not the other way around. Perhaps that's why so many people leave Alaska feeling different than when they arrived. The wilderness strips away distractions. It reminds us how little we truly need to experience genuine wonder. A sunrise over Denali costs nothing. The sound of an eagle soaring above a glacier asks nothing in return. The quiet reflection of mountains across a perfectly still lake belongs to everyone fortunate enough to witness it. Some of the richest moments in life cannot be bought, only experienced. Think about the places we've visited together. The endless tundra stretching toward the Arctic Ocean, the towering rainforests of the southeast, the storm-lashed Aleutian Islands reaching toward Asia, the hidden valleys where no roads exist, the villages connected only by bush plains and boats, the ancient glaciers that continue shaping the land one slow movement at a time. Each place tells a different story, yet together, they reveal something much greater. Alaska is not one landscape, it is an entire world. A world where every season writes a new chapter, every migration begins another story. Every mountain reminds us how brief our own lives truly are, compared to the age of the earth. And perhaps that realization is not frightening, perhaps it is freeing. Because when we understand how small we are, we begin appreciating how extraordinary it is that we get to experience any of this at all. Have you noticed how travel changes the questions we ask ourselves? Before a journey, we often ask, what am I going to see? Afterward, the question becomes something entirely different. What did this place teach me? So let me ask you something. After everything you've experienced throughout this journey across Alaska, what surprised you the most? Was it the sheer size of the wilderness, the months of endless daylight and endless darkness, the resilience of the people who call this place home, the incredible wildlife, or was it something far more personal? The realization that there are still places on Earth where nature remains wonderfully untamed? Share your answer in the comments below. One thoughtful comment might inspire someone else to see Alaska, and perhaps even the world, from an entirely new perspective. And if this documentary helped you discover something new, consider sharing it with someone who loves exploring our planet. You never know whose next great adventure might begin with a single conversation. Because the greatest journeys rarely start at an airport. They begin with curiosity. That same curiosity has driven explorers across frozen mountain passes, scientists into remote wilderness, photographers to wait hours for a single perfect moment, and travelers from every corner of the world to stand in awe beneath Alaska's endless skies. Curiosity is what reminds us that the world remains far more extraordinary than headlines often suggest. There are still places where wolves leave the first tracks across fresh snow, where whales return each summer exactly as they have for centuries, where ancient forests continue growing in quiet patience, where rivers still run free from glacier to sea, where children grow up measuring seasons not by calendars, but by the return of salmon, by the first snowfall, by the first sunrise after months of darkness. These are not stories from the distant past. They are happening right now, every single day. That is Alaska's greatest gift. Not simply its beauty, but its ability to remind us that wildness still exists, that mystery still exists, that wonder still exists. In an age where nearly every destination has been photographed, mapped, reviewed, and shared millions of times, Alaska somehow continues to hold on to something increasingly rare: the unknown. There will always be another valley hidden beyond the mountains, another glacier waiting around the bend, another island battered by storms, another quiet moment that belongs only to those willing to slow down long enough to notice it. Perhaps that is why Alaska is often called the last frontier, not because it is the final place left to explore on a map, but because it challenges us to rediscover something we may have forgotten within ourselves: patience, humility, gratitude, wonder. As the mountains slowly fade into the distance and the last light reflects across the water, one final thought lingers. Long after the photographs have been stored away, long after the memories begin blending together, long after you've returned to the familiar rhythm of everyday life, a part of Alaska stays with you. In the silence you now appreciate, in the sunrise you no longer take for granted, in the forests that suddenly seem more precious, in the realization that the greatest treasures on Earth are not the ones we own, but the ones we protect. Because some places are too extraordinary to simply visit. They deserve to be remembered. They deserve to be respected. And above all, they deserve to remain wild. Thank you for joining this unforgettable journey across America's last great frontier. Until our paths cross again, in another extraordinary corner of the world, keep exploring, keep wondering, and never stop discovering.